גבורתנו. מה נאמר לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו? הלא כל הגיבורים כאין לפניך, ואנשי השם כלא היו, וחכמים כבלי מדע, ונבונים כבלי השכל. כי רוב מעשינו תופו, בימי חיינו הבל לפניך. ומותר האדם מן הבהמה אין, כי הכל הבל. Nevertheless, we are your people, children of your covenant, and called to your service. Therefore it is right that we should thank and praise you, to proclaim your holiness, and daily say before you. Please join with me in Hebrew. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch hu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Mehulal befi amo. Meshubach u'mekohar b'lshon chasidav v'avadav. Bishvachot u'bizmirot. Negadelecha v'namlichecha malkeinu. Yachid chei ha'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai. At dawn and dusk I seek you, reach out and look to you. With soul athirst I yearn for you, I am a beggar at your door. The galaxies cannot contain you, yet you dwell in my inmost being. I hold your glory in my heart, my love for you exceeds my speech. So I will praise your name, Eternal One, as long as your breath of life remains within me. Praise be the Eternal One forever. Amen and Amen. Praise be the Eternal God, the God of Israel, who does wonderful things. Let God's glorious name be praised forever, and let the whole earth be filled with God's glory. Amen and Amen. God of all ages, of all generations, of all creatures, to whom our praise ascends. You guide the world with constant love, your children with tender care. To you alone we give thanks. Yet our mouths should overflow with song as the sea, our tongues with exultation as the roaring waves, and our lips with praise as heaven's wide expanse. And though our eyes shine as the sun and moon, our arms spread forth like the wings of eagles, and our feet speed swiftly as hinds, still we could not fully thank you, eternal God, for your infinite kindness to our ancestors and to us. Let's join together. Therefore the limbs you have formed in us, the spirit you have breathed into us, and the tongue you have set in our mouths, all shall unite to thank and praise, extol you and exalt you, the sovereign God. Every mouth shall thank you, every tongue bear witness to you, every knee shall bend to you, every body bow down to you, every heart shall revere you, and every fibre of our being shall sing your praise. For so it is written, all my bones shall say, who is like you, Eternal One? Therefore we extol you and proclaim your glory, and praise your holy name, as it is said, praise the Eternal One, O my soul. Let all that is within me praise God's holy name.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שיהיה ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, ברכות והולאות, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בשירי זמרה.
Together, firstly in Hebrew and then halfway down the page, switching to English. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzei or uborei choshech, osei shalom uborei et hakol, hame'ir la'aretz ve'ladarim alecha berachamim, u'tuvo mechadesh lechol yom tamid ma'asei bereshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, ulam bechokhma asita. מלאה הארץ קנייניך, תתברך אדוני אלוהינו, על שבח מעשי ידיך, ועל מאורעו שעשית, יפארך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצא המאורות. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching, make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'b'chol nafshecha v'b'chol meodecha. V'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, ושבת מאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please be seated. למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words, now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first, and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, norah v'hilot oseferet, norah v'hilot oseferet.
שירה חדשה שיבחו כעולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו
Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Tzmor Yisrael, Ona Bezrat Yisrael, Go'aleinu Adonai, Tzema'ot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael, God Yisrael. Amen.
Please rise for the tefillah. Say together in Hebrew and then in English. Adonai Sefatai Tifta
Free and meet Tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor, HaGorah, El Elyon, Go'el Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geulah L'Bnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'Karei Eitim Atah Rav V'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh U'Morid HaTal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei Metim V'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Mazir Asurim, Mekayem emunato l'shenei Afa, Mi chamocha ba'al geburot, u'Ido melach, melech meimit u'mechayer, u'matzliach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'hayot meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hametim.
We sanctify your name on earth as in the prophet's vision, the hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech haaretz ve'olam.
Kevodo malei olam.
Baruch kavod Adonai,
מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, ודור ודור, הללויה.
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. שבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful and good.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. המקדש שלי, המקדש שלי, כולם ישמחו ויתענגו מטובך.
Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Sanctify us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O
רוצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך.
ברוך אתה אדוני, שאתה להלכה ויראה כבוד.
מודים אנחנו לך,
שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו לעולם ועד. צור חיינו וחי נשנו, אתה הוא לדור לדור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות בך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות.
grant peace, welfare and blessing, grace, love and mercy to us and to all Israel, your people. As a loving parent, bless us with the light of your presence. For by the light of your presence, eternal God, you have revealed to us the law of life, a love of kindness and righteousness, blessing and mercy, life and peace. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples be blessed at all times with your gift of peace.
We praise you, O God, the source of peace.
Let's take a few moments to ourselves. Rather than reading about it as a special theme.
Yeah, that's just the thing. We don't have to read about it.
Right. And no one's down to read about it.
No.
Right. In which case, we'll turn to page 481 for the Torah service. 481. We don't always read the special theme either.
No, it's optional.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's a good idea, if you've got some time to yourself, you can pop to have a look at it. There is some, because we actually read it last night, and there's some interesting stuff on it. So, but that's your choice. We're all about choice here. Anything goes.
There is none like you, Eternal One, among the gods people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting. Your reign endures from age to age. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlul Adonai iti, unerom mama Shemo yachdav. Last time I came, I brought someone with me to give the sermon, Rabbi Danny Rich, which was rather nice all round. I haven't brought someone to read Torah today, but almost, because it's the anniversary of Kevin's bar mitzvah today. This is his portion, Talmud, and I think it's the 8th anniversary of Kevin doing his bar mitzvah portion just 8 years ago. It's supposed to be a joke. 8 plus 13, 21. They're always good when you have to explain them.
Tell me about
so what we're going to do, I'm going to call Kevin up, because I like to call someone up anyway, and he's a very good person to call up. He's been arranging all these services with me and others, and wouldn't be here if Kevin hadn't asked me to be here. I'm very pleased to be here. And I'm calling him up as a bar mitzvah. And he's going to, what are you going to do? You're going to read the blessings, but before that you're going you're going to talk about the portion, and I'm not going to do that. And then you'll say the blessings, and then you'll read the translation, and then I'm going to lay him today, and hope for the best. So let's see. Ya'amod Yitzchak ben Mordechai bar mitzvah lekriyat haTorah.
Yep, it's the anniversary of my bar mitzvah. All those years ago. It was actually when I was called up for my bar mitzvah. I was at the time I wasn't around. I had a call of nature, so to speak. And it happens to be, I don't know if anyone remembers the film with the Mitzvah Boy?
Yes.
With Maury Littman, and he actually went missing, and believe me, my parents were panicking, and suddenly I made this grand entrance. I'm glad I'm on call today. Anyway, yeah, it's Teruma, it's a portion, and it's about God sort of wanting to give the wandering Jews is like a gift. There's a new temple. They've been in the desert for ages, homeless, getting quite frustrated on their journey. But this is more of a kind of upbeat part of their journey. And what I'm actually going to read about is the building of the new temple, and specifically about the material things that are needed and the actual ark. They're trying to build this ark, which is really, really complicated. And I'm going to explain it. It reminds me of when doing an IKEA self-assembling kit. It is that complicated, I tell you. So bear with me when I read that bit. There is quite a bit of pretentiousness about it, in as much as it's all about gold and all the material, ostentatious kind of goods. But what kind of strikes me is not that side of it, it's the significance of the symbols. Like the ark is precious to them. It gives a feeling of holiness amongst the nation of Israelites who are nomads. And then come to think of it, okay, we're not in the desert, but we're going through a similar journey. We have been, and we're going to continue, we're going to move. And I kind of think a lot about our possessions, what's valued to us, what we need to keep. And just looking around, we've got the Ten Commandments here. I don't think we can get the ark, but hopefully the doors or something from there, the eternal light, the pepper ball, the tapestries, the tree of life, that menorah there that I've never seen used, but it always kind of averts my gaze when I'm kind of in a service. I don't know if anyone can think of anything else I've missed out. That tapestries. Yes. So there's lots around here that we need to keep. And I think it's a possession that's what's really precious, more than bricks and mortar. And I have been reminded, I think what the most precious thing we have here is the people. Yeah, so the reading is, obviously I'm just reading the English bit, it's chapter 25, verses 1 to 16, which can be found on page 500 of the Sonsimo, and 1, 2, 3 on the JPS Tanakh. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai, Hamvorach, Le'olam.
Baruch Adonai, Hamvorach, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai,
Noten HaTorah.
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts from me from every person whose heart so moves him. And these are the gifts that you shall accept from them: gold, silver and copper, blue, purple and crimson yarns, fine linen, goat's hair, canned ram skins, dolphin skins and acacia wood, soil for lighting spices, for anointing oil and for the aromatic incense, lapis lazuli and other stones for setting, for the ephod and for the breastpiece, and let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, exactly as I show you. The platform of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its furnishing shall you make it." This is the IKEA bit. "They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Overlay it with pure gold. Overlay it inside and out, and make upon it a gold moulding round about. Cast 4 gold rings for it, to be attached to its 4 feet, 2 rings on one of its side walls and 2 on the other. Make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Then insert the poles into the rings on the side walls of the ark for carrying the ark. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be removed from it. And deposit in the ark the tablets of the pact which I will give to you.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ויקחו לי תרומה מאת כל איש אשר ידבנו ליבו, תיקחו את תרומתי. וזאת התרומה אשר תיקחו מאיתם, זהב וכסף ונחושת, ותכלת וארגמן, ותולעת שני ושש ועזים, ואורות אלים מאוד עמים, ואורות תחשים ועצי שיטים, שמן למאור, בשמים לשמן המשחה, ולקטור את הסמים, אבני שוהם ואבני מילואים, לאפוד ולחושן. ועשו לי מקדש, ושכנתי בתוכם, ככל אשר אני מראה אותך. את תבנית המשכן, ואת תבנית כל כליו, וכן תעשו. ועשו ארון עצי שיטים, 2.5 אורכו, ואמה וחצי רוחבו, ואמה וחצי קומתו. וציפית אותו זהב טהור, מבית ומחוץ תצפנו. ועשית עליו זה זהב סביב, ויצקת לו 4 טבעות זהב, ונתת על 4 פעמותיו, ושתי טבעות על צלעו האחד, ושתי טבעות על צלעו השנית. ועשית ודי עצי שיטים, וציפית אותם זהב, והבאת את הבדים וטבעות על צלעות הארון, לשאת את הארון בהם. בטבעות הארון יהיו הבדים, לא יסורו ממנו. ונתת אל הארון את העדות אשר תן אליך.
Nathan sang that nearly as well as I did. No, not quite, but nearly. I like that. Baruch atah Adonai אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, בחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני.
נושא התורה.
Where's the sweets? Gently slighted it.
Eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, you inspired faithful prophets and took pleasure in the words they spoke in truth. We praise you, O God, for the gift of Torah, for your servant Moses, your people Israel, and the prophets of truth and righteousness. The Lord had given Solomon wisdom, as he had promised him. There was friendship between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. King Solomon imposed forced labour on all Israel. The levy came to 30,000 men. He sent them to the Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month. They would spend 1 month in the Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labour. Solomon also had 70,000 porters and 80,000 warriors in the hills, apart from Solomon's 3,300 officials who were in charge of the work and supervised the gangs doing the work. The king ordered huge blocks of choice stone to be quarried so that the foundations of the house might be laid with hewn stones. Solomon's masons, Hiram's masons, and the men of Gebal shaped them. Thus the timber and the stones for the building of the house were made ready. In the 480th year after the Israelites had left the land of Egypt, in the month of Ziv, that is the second month, in the 4th year of his reign over Israel, Solomon began to build the house of the Lord. The house which King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The portico in front of the great hall of the house was 20 cubits long, along the width of the house, and 10 cubits deep to the front of the house. He made windows for the house, recessed and latticed. Against the outside wall of the house, the outside walls of the house enclosing the great hall and shrine, he built a storied structure. He made side chambers all around. The lowest story was 5 cubits wide, the middle one 6 cubits wide, and the third 7 cubits wide, for he had provided recesses around the outside of the house so as not to penetrate the walls of the house. When the house was built, only finished stones cut at the quarry were used, so that no hammer or axe or any iron tool was heard in the house while it was being built. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, who have been our source of strength and righteousness throughout the ages, the faithful God whose word is deed and whose every word is true and just. For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and for this Sabbath day which you, eternal God, have given us for holiness and rest, for honour and beauty, for all these we offer thanks. May all the living come to praise your name forever.
Please rise. Because the Torah reading, which was reflected in the Haftarah reading, was about bringing offerings voluntarily. I think the normal practice is for the rabbi or the prayer leader to read the communal prayers. Is that right?
Just recently we've adopted a different way of doing it, and we sort of asked different people.
Let's do that. I think that's a nice way to have some different voices.
It's very nice and inclusive.
So would someone like to read the prayer for the Queen and Theresa May, etc.?
I'll read it for the Queen. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Let us say. And someone for the next community.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world, that those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Amen.
Amen.
And
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another, and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Amen.
Amen.
יהללו את שם אדוני כי נשגב שמו לבדו. Page 488. God's teaching is perfect,
Reviving the soul,
God's word is unfailing,
making wise the simple,
God's precepts are right,
delighting the mind,
God's commandments are clear,
enlightening the eyes,
God's doctrine is pure,
enduring forever,
God's guidance is true.
and altogether just.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Making sure that the shamus doesn't run off with my sermon, because it's happened once or twice. And I should know it wouldn't happen here, because Hannah is the model shamus as far as I'm concerned. Her advice still rings in my ears, which is, if something needs doing and it's not being done, do it. The Monday before last, the 28th of January, was Linda's birthday, I found myself standing on the stage of the Great Hall at Goldsmiths in New Cross, South London, presenting at an event organised annually by the JSOC, the Jewish Society there, to mark Holocaust Memorial Day, which fell the previous day, 27th of January, the anniversary, of course, of the liberation of Auschwitz. I was participating in a similar event at Lambeth Town Hall on the Sunday afternoon and was struck by the tone, which managed to remain hopeful despite the subject of Holocaust and genocide. One of the speakers, George, well known to us at Mosaic Liberal Synagogue, relayed his family's story of being torn from home, this year's theme for Holocaust Memorial Day. Settled and assimilated Austrian Jews, their lives were shattered by the entry of the German army in 1938 and Austria's subsequent incorporation into the Reich. George and his parents managed to escape to England via France before the outbreak of war. Most of the family did not. Okito was another speaker. A Congolese man, around 40 years of age, he too was torn from home. Unlike George's family, regular contact was maintained by phone, which meant he was able to speak to his father one morning and share the hope to soon be reunited. The telephone also meant that the news of his father's violent death in his own home reached him within hours. Okito is a friend of South London Liberal Synagogue, where he runs a support group for Congolese refugees on Shabbat afternoons. He'll be there today. Earlier this year, I visited a concentration camp for the first time, Dachau, near Munich, something I had made a conscious effort not to do in the past. I found myself walking through gates with the infamous motto, Arbeit macht frei, work makes one free, onto a vast, truly vast parade ground, where 30,000 people were forced to stand as numbers reached their height towards the end of the war. I stood in a gas chamber, about which I can find no words. I saw the crematorium ovens and the hooks above them used for hangings. Dachau was not an extermination camp and was small compared to those in the east. A prison and place of execution for Jews, communists, trade unionists, homosexuals, and other so-called anti-social elements, and a final destination for so many driven west on the death marches away from the advancing Red Army. Yet earlier I spoke of hope. Where was it to be found on Sunday afternoon in Brixton? Or several months ago in Germany? For me, it was in the courage George found to tell his very personal and upsetting story to a hall full of strangers. Not for the first time, either. The 89-year-old man has been recounting it for 20 years now, after building a life for himself in England, national service in the British Army, a career with the Greater London Council, bringing up a family, and involved in the synagogue. And George spoke several times at my former school where I was coordinator of Holocaust education. Indeed, he continued to do so after I left Philiabeck College. Hope was in the reception he received, the empathy he was able to create, and the love that flowed from it. For Akito, also, whose wounds were fresher and whose conflict continues, simply having the opportunity to share his story and that of his people over more than a century of colonial and post-colonial oppression, exploitation and genocide, represented hope in and of itself, as he told us. And he's returning soon to visit the graves of his father and sisters, made slightly less dangerous by the recent elections in Congo. I found hope in the cell block, a special cell block at Dachau, where certain prisoners were kept. Protestant and Catholic clergy, who would gather together around a makeshift altar for services. The would-be assassin of Adolf Hitler, Kurt Elser, at the opposite end of the long corridor, very, very long corridor, if you've been there, you know. He had acted alone in 1939 in an attempt to prevent the war. He planted a bomb below the stage of a beer cellar where Hitler was giving a speech, and was imprisoned until his execution in April 1945. They kept him there for years. I stood at the cell doors for some time. At an exhibition in Berlin, next to where the Gestapo headquarters once stood, another moment of hope. A photograph of a large crowd held back by policemen on the dockside at the launch of a warship. Each one is giving the Nazi salute, faces joyful and committed. Each person except one, captured by sheer chance on camera, with arms folded about his body and face stern. Identified years later as former Nazi Party member August Landmesser, who had met a Jewish woman, begun a relationship with her that produced 2 small children, and changed his mind and heart. Later sent to a punishment battalion and killed at the front, his example, along with all the others, shines out. And the photo can be easily found on the internet and presents an impressive and memorable image. At the end of the Lambeth Holocaust Memorial Day event, after stories had been told, a presentation given on the work being done to welcome Syrian refugees today, songs sung by 2 choirs, one from a junior school, one from the synagogue, and poems read, we drank tea and coffee and chatted together. The opening words of the former mayor were made real. We all share the same planet and breathe the same air. May events like those at Goldsmiths and at Lambeth Town Hall and across the country reinforce this message, one of hope, so that we remember and recognise that humankind can proceed in one of two directions. Let us, in the words of the Hebrew Bible, choose life.
Amen.
To conclude the service by turning to page 520 for Elena. Please rise. Say together, Elena
לשמח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם כפינו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומי. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס ולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, when all will invoke your name, relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever.
Serene when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone. Yet in the emptiness their passing leaves behind, we are not alone, for we have the companionship of the living, and even our loved ones who have died live on in our hearts, for what they were is part of what we have become. There's a community here at Mosaic Liberal Synagogue. We remember Ingrid Blake, very lovely, brave lady, well known to the families of a number of members of the synagogue, who died last Sunday, aged 50. And we also remember this time of year Rita Asbury, friend of the community. And so much is bound up in that phrase, a friend of the community. We remember Jeff Baum, the father of Jennifer Gridley and of Jonathan Baum. We remember Rebecca Baum, the daughter of Linda Baum and Jonathan Baum. We remember Ray Crabb, the sister of Rhoda Cohn. Adrienne Harris, the daughter of Irving Harris and sister of Jackie Harris. Muriel Harris, the wife of Irving Harris and mother of Jackie Harris. We remember Rosalind Hart, the first wife of Paul Hart, and Estelle Milner, the sister of Marie Capitelli. As I look around the sanctuary, if you'd like to name someone else that hasn't been named, please feel free to do so.
My friend Pam Taylor, it's her yard site last week.
I'd like to mention this, another part of the community, Albert Finney, one of the greatest actors, I think, of all time, an absolute legend.
We wish a long life and many happy memories and much strength to those that are mourning. We honour our loved ones best when we live as they would wish, responsibly and happily, even in the shadow of our loss, and so draw closer to the source of life, in whom every life finds meaning, purpose and hope. We turn the page and say together, Please be seated. And I'm going to ask Kevin in a moment to come up and say, I think he has maybe a few messages. I have a message, and that's from Rabbi Dr. Charles Middleborough, I was communicating with this morning, and he wishes everyone at HWPS, the synagogue formerly known as, wishes you all well, and no doubt I can pass on in return your well wishes to him.
Well, it's just next week, Friday, there's going to be quite a special service. I know we don't get a lot of people for Friday, but I really think if many of you can come to support Gwendolyn, a lot of you who have attended her service, and she's a wonderful singer, but she's actually going to take the plunge and actually conduct the service herself this Friday. And the only thing she's nervous about is that nobody's going to turn up.
Can I take her? And I've studied for several years at the Obeck College with Gwendolyn, and she's amazing. She always scored much higher than me in Hebrew and Aramaic classes. She's very learned and very skilled, and it will be a treat. So please do try and come and support her. You won't regret it.
So that's this one. And then Saturday, it's Joseph Finley. No, we've got absolutely funny. The choir's now taking the service. Be warned, Edward and Lobo. You're talking then. Yeah, but it will be Joseph. I don't know. He last month he did a service. It was a cappella. Yeah, he did, and it was superb. He got lots of the singing and the spirituality, the service. So again, it's good to support the people who we try things differently, and it's actually the support they get that is as important as the service itself. So that's all for now. We'll do it along.
I've made a request, and Donalam is going to be to the tune of Isilis Mozart, and it's Marybank's setting, or Marybank's idea, which I think Lobo always sings superb. It's really hard to sing. If you've ever tried it, try it in the shower.
It's very exposed.
Yes, in the shower even more so. Thank you very much, both of you. Please rise. God and God of our ancestors, bless us with the threefold benediction of the Torah. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace.
May I just say a few words of thanks before we disperse? First of all, I would like to thank the musicians, without whom we will lose so much of the spirituality of our service. I'd like to thank Linda, who read a really exceptionally interesting, I thought, portion of Haftorah. I hadn't realised it was, all these thousands of people who were being beaten into putting the building up. And, of course, all of us who were here, because without us there's no service. But most of all, and last but absolutely not least, I would like to say thank you to Nathan.
Rabbi Nathan.
Nathan
Excuse me, I knew him before he was a
So did you.
Of course we're delighted that you're a rabbi now. You worked very hard for it and you're going to be a star rabbi, I know that. But you've made a lovely service for us. You've given us many different emotions to think about, and I'm certainly going to think a lot about what you have to say about the terrible events that happened from the 1930s till after the war. But also I think it's so important for us now to remember how many people are displaced, homeless, running for their lives, little children drowning in the sea because of wicked people who are taking huge sums of money and just forgetting about them. We live in a difficult world, and I think hope is terribly important, hope allied with action. I believe that part of your speech is actually in the liberal Judaism publication. I'm sure I read something about it.
I'm talking about my trip to Germany, but not...
Oh, well, I seem to have... Anyway, the main thing is that Nathan will be back with us in the not-too-distant future.
Back in
2 weeks.
2 weeks' time.
Back on the
So-
23rd of March, and that's it then.
Anyway, thank you very,
You're
very much.
welcome.
And it's lovely to see you.
It's lovely to be back. Thank you
Lovely
very
to
much.
have you. Okay, everybody. I think we're still just a little bit early.
We can take our time.
Downstairs, yes.
Yeah.
Not in a mad rush.
Yeah, slightly, but not much. But don't be regard to 12:30 cut off by.
Yeah. It's 2 in a row, don't we? I might be lucky.
Yeah, you might be lucky, and then if you miss the fourth one, you have to give us a note.
Just to go free to do, yeah. Switch across a bit at the front. But,
It's not ethical.
They finished downstairs, so we'll join the beginners.
I know I said you can take your time, but...
Okay, that's fine. That is very reassuring.
I'll let you know who's left.
So this is a nice one because I found this, so to speak, and things I can come back and be here for free. That's right, it's nice. Yeah,
You look like a gangster. No, babe.
It's the endorsement I need.
Yeah.
Do you see him,
Yeah.